which is still probably the closest I've ever been to like an actual Hollywood director or anything.
That's
that
pretty
was
cool.
weird. I was full time there for 6 years, and then we all got taken out back. So that's the way. And genuinely, every single week that I was there, a version of that Classroom Answer Guide was in the top 10 posts.
Wow. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another one-on-one conversation with a Destiny 2 content creator. My name is Saxon. Today, I have the chance to speak with a man that can share a wholly unique perspective on what it means to cover a live service game like Destiny for over a decade. As a journalist at Polygon and now at his own independent publication, Rogue, he is well-versed in what it means to create written guides and articles in a time when the lines between truth and lies is so very thin. Ryan Gilliam, thank you for joining the podcast, man. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for saying my name right.
Right?
No, I appreciate it. Yeah. Man. What a time to try to talk about things that are real on the internet.
Yeah, it's seems like it would. I think we all have battles that are our own Sisyphean challenge, right? Like we're pushing it up, and you do that. That's the boulder you've chosen to bear, or the cross you've chosen to bear. I was going to mix
maddeningly, yeah, fruitlessly, as some would say, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was fighting one of those battles the other day in my Discord. Someone was just discussing, hey, does this weapon drop from this? They're like, well, Chat GPT says. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, it's not a search engine. It's also just not.
You can't do that with Destiny specifically because like you're talking about like the fifth version of a fifth weapon. Like that's not going to work at all. It's going to be like, yeah, go to the Black Armory forges to get that. And you're like,
God, I wish.
Where are
I wish
those?
I could. Yeah.
Same.
Desperately wish I could. So
yeah, every day.
But let's get a little housekeeping out of the way, man. So thank you guys for listening. You guys have outpoured support on these creator conversations. I've heard you loud and clear. I want to continue to bring them to you. So the best way you can support the channel is by liking and subscribing. We're on that path to 1,000 subscribers, trying to monetize these. YouTube's going to show you ads regardless. So you might as well subscribe so you can support directly the content that you guys are consuming. You can do that right here on the Sax Talks Games channel. You can also subscribe over on Sax Plays Games if you just want Destiny 2 content. And you can go over to Rogue.site. Is that correct, Ryan?
Rogue.site, yeah.
Perfect. So we're going to talk about the value that they provide and the story behind that. But if you want to support Ryan's work and the good old independent games journalism, we can do that. So Ryan, let's get into it. For those who are not familiar with you directly and your work, can you kind of give us a breakdown, who you are, your relationship with Destiny, and then just where you fit into the whole D2 creator community?
So I've been a video game journalist, if you want to, like, I've been in entertainment journalist is what I would tell like people that I don't want to barrage me with a million questions.
Sure.
For 9 years, almost 10 years, I think at this point. 10 years, like this fall, with varying levels of success and stability in that window. I worked almost exclusively at Polygon for that entire time. And then in May of last year, Polygon got sold by Vox Media to Valnet. Two companies I have a lot of opinions on that they're both very litigious, so I probably shouldn't say them. And then that was kind of as you may know, it's not a great time to get a job out there for people who are looking for one. And also, the job that I had doesn't exactly exist most other places. So
yeah,
a bunch of us kind of went together and created our own thing over at Rogue.site. I know we'll talk about that later. And so like that's kind of me in a nutshell. I also like recently started hosting the Escape Will Make Me pod, or co-hosting with Scaro and Jake the Alrights, our marathon podcast, which has been doing great. And people have been really enjoying it. So that's been cool. As far as like my relationship with Destiny that goes, it's long. Like I think a lot of us who are still around.
Sure.
It's been like technically I'm a D1 alphabet, but I didn't buy the game at launch.
Okay.
I was in college at the time and I couldn't really afford a lot of different games. And also my roommate at the time, who will make several appearances, I'm sure, in this conversation, it did not want to buy it after playing the alpha and thought it was going to suck. And then all the reviews came out and said it was bad. And so we were like, okay, I guess we're skipping this one, and I was sad about it and spent a lot of time watching streams, and then like before House of Wolves, a couple months before, I jumped in and bought a copy for both of us at a very cheap price at GameSpot, and then he hated it, and I've been stuck ever since. So,
There you
and
go.
since then I've played everything. So,
A dividing path there with you and your
yeah,
roommate doing
uh,
that. So that's awesome. Well, I want to talk about Destiny, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit because
yeah,
I think it's way more fascinating. So I think this is the 12th episode that I've done with different creators, ranging from the Destiny data science piece, right? Like people who do not make videos, but they'll make posts on Twitter, and they're
Mossy.
doing the heavy lifting on the back. Mossy Max, Court,
Mm-hmm.
like these guys, and then all the way obviously to those who, Scarrow, as you mentioned, Llama, Toad, Mactic's, like very upfront, and people that we're very aware with. But I want to make sure that we understand, and when I say we, even myself, what does it actually look like to work as a games journalist? I wrote down this. This is what I wrote down. I said, I've always been fascinated with the idea of journalism, often imagining another life where I worked as a beat writer in some sort of like noir film. like I love that whole like that aesthetic and that kind of mindset. How far off from that could I be? Like, am I? And what brought you into the world of journalism, man?
It's so I think you're like I'm. Maybe there are people out there where they're living the like puff a cigarette and throw it down on the ground with their
Yeah.
their notebook and their fun not quite fedora hat like from like maybe
the
that's happening.
the
I'm
investigative side.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not much of a reporter
Sure.
classically, so that's not been my experience. It's closer to like if you're looking at like a media um something that's closer to it. It's closer to being like the sports writer at the Daily Planet or like the
Okay.
Daily Bugle or something like
Okay.
that. It's like
There's
you,
still something there for me there. You
yeah,
still got me. You got me.
yeah. So it's more like at least for me covering like a lot of Destiny, but not exclusively Destiny. It's more like I did a lot of beat reporting.
Okay.
By which I would mean like I had Destiny and then I had a couple other things, Diablo at a time and other games like that, World of Warcraft at a time. And basically, like anytime anything happens with Destiny and someone notices on the staff, I get a ping being like, go get Ryan. Something's
Sure.
happening. Or more realistically, I'm coming into the newsroom with being like, hey, I have, to this day, I have notifications set up on Twitter for all of Destiny's accounts. So
Yeah.
they get sent like directly to me. And so I would show up and be like, hey, something's happening in Destiny, something's happening in Diablo. I'm either going to write about it for news during different periods of my time with Polygon, or like I'm going to write about this for a longer thing, or I'm going to write a guide about it, etc. So like on the whole, though, it's an office job.
Sure.
Like it's an office job where you do a lot of writing, and like 95% of my days in the entire time I was there was sitting at my desk and either sitting in a meeting or writing something. Um, I can think there are very few times. I think people probably imagine it like to be clear, like streaming and content creation is a long job. I'm very aware like the hours are super long and like it's very stressful and all that around it. I don't want to belittle that or anything like that. But a lot of it is time. Like you can see the amount of time that is spent like
Mm-hmm.
sitting in front of a camera playing a game. And
Sure.
that's not always fun play. I'm also typically aware as somebody who's also spending quite a bit of time playing games,
Sure.
not for fun. Um but very little of my actual work time was spent like actually playing
Yeah.
games. Like I can count on like a couple, like probably two hands, the amount of times I could spend like really a long time playing something. And typically it was a lot more of like sitting at my desk, being in meetings, writing up a guide, writing up news, etc. We had post counts at various different periods where we needed to get a certain amount of stuff done
Mm.
in a given week. So it was for people it was a cool gig. It is a cool gig. It's very cool to be able to spend your life making money do like in a space that you enjoy.
Sure.
But I mean, as I'm sure you can attest from content creation, it's not all like it's not always all it's cracked up to be in terms of what
Yeah.
people are expecting. Like there's a lot of other not fun stuff that goes into it. I got assigned doing like a bunch of guides for Starfield. And I do
Okay.
not like Bethesda RPGs at all. Like
Really?
it's a really no, I just don't like them. My wife loves them, but like I can't stand them. Always have it my way.
What you don't love, like staring directly at a character with completely dead eyes and
No, I don't.
choosing from one.
No, I don't really
That's
love it.
wild to
And
me, man.
and games that like don't really control very well in first person. So
Yeah.
anyway, I was not looking forward to it, and I knew it was gonna be a really big project, and it was not a super fun like month or so, and it was the only real time I've been able to get through to people when I'm talking to them that like my job isn't always super fun
Yeah.
because it was like, okay, well, so like if you pick up a game that you're looking forward to or whatever, and you start playing it, and you're like, I don't think I like this. Like, what do you do? Do you
Yeah.
turn it off? Because I
In
went
the
into that
past,
game
yes. Yep.
knowing I wasn't gonna like it, and I played it for like 70 hours in a 2 week period, and I didn't enjoy any of those. It's like it really
Yeah.
starts to feel like work. Thankfully, most of those situations weren't like that. Polygon was very good about trying to get people who were interested in the thing they were playing on a project because it's just better that way.
Sure.
Getting into journalism is like I wanted to do this, like that's what I wanted to do. The road there was stupid and weird, and like it is for literally everyone I've ever talked to. It
Okay.
doesn't make sense, and it's like not very straightforward. We can get into that if you want, but
Yeah, I'd
it's
love to. Can you expound on that a little bit?
yeah. So when I was in college, I was thinking I was going to go into broadcast journalism.
Okay.
And then because I thought that would be more feasible than being a video game writer, which is also stupid. People, when you're in your 20s, you don't know what's going on. You think you know what's going on, and you know what's going on a lot better than you used to. And it does take time for you to go back and go, I thought being like, I'll work at a local news station, and that'll be a lot easier than writing about video games.
Sure.
And it wasn't. I mean, it was maybe, but like not that much. Anyway, Vox Media started putting out like teasing a website that they were going to make, and it ended up being Polygon. They started doing these like documentary style videos, which if you go back and watch them, they're pretty pretentious, and
Okay.
like a little
Okay.
douchey. And like whenever I would talk to other people about those, they'd be like, "Oh, those were awful," and I'd be like, "Well, they worked for me. They made me be like, I want to go work with these people," and so I was like, "I'll be stupid and I'll do that." But the way it ended up working out was that my roommate and I at the time got really into League of Legends early in college.
Okay.
And unbeknownst to us, Phil Kohler and who worked at Polygon at the time, and then SB Nation, another Vox Media, were planning on coming together to spin off a League of Legends like vertical website that would be like kind of a small blog that would exist between like as a project between them. And so Phil was going out on Twitter all the time and asking people, like, "Hey, I need to learn this game for reasons. Does anyone know how to play it?" And me and my roommate were like, we know, you should. We're cool. We're not going to be weird. We promise you should definitely friend us or whatever.
Yeah.
So he ended up. It did,
as you should with anyone who tells you that on the
totally
internet. Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. You should go. We're college kids. We're not weird. You should friend us. And so he ended up doing it. And we very rarely ever played with him. Like maybe 3 or 4 times we played and chatted with him, which was like the coolest thing we had ever done. We were like super pumped about it. One time he invited us to play Heroes of the Storm with Dan Trachtenberg, the director of Predator Badlands and Prey and Tiny Cloverfield Lane, which is still probably the closest I've ever been to like an actual Hollywood director or anything. But that was cool. Weird. I still don't really know how he knows Dan, but we played Heroes of the Storm games with him, and it was fun. But anyway, Phil knew who we were loosely at that point. And so when the Rift Herald, which is what the website was eventually called, launched as a surprise on like over the weekend or something, it was like the weekend of the Overwatch beta. People were like trying to remember like what timeline this would be.
Sure.
So before Overwatch 1 came out, and we were playing, very excited about spending the entire weekend playing the Overwatch beta. And the website dropped, and it was using the SB Nation model, which used to allow people to basically do like free contribution posts, which is not good. Don't write for free. But that's easy to say now.
Sure.
We jumped in and basically spent the entire day. We had like started our own website together that was like not very popular, or like not anything. It was like a blog that our family would read. but we were familiar with editing each other's writing, and so we both jumped in and wrote some like goofy shit about League of Legends or whatever, and posted on the website that was run by a small group of people. And as I now know, when you're a website run by a small group of people, you're looking for content all the
Oh
time
yeah.
to get up on there. So like we basically wrote that, posted it as community members, and then contacted Phil to be like, "Hey, do you remember us?" And he's like, "Of course I remember you guys," and like pinned our stuff on the website and basically introduced us to his collaborative partner from SB Nation named Pete Volk, who ended up being my first boss eventually. And then through that relationship, got paid for the first time to do some like a freelance guide for a upcoming League of Legends champion that was probably totally wrong. And like just steadily kept going until we had like a small contract of getting paid like a very small amount of money a month to do some writing, and then that introduced us into the Polygon like Slack ecosystem, which got me like guides work, doing actually writing stuff for things I knew like World of Warcraft and Overwatch. And then ended up being a situation where the guides guy was like, "Hey, I don't have anybody for this Persona 5 game. Have you ever played any of these Personas?" And I was like, "Never." Now I love those games, partially
Yeah,
because it's
that's a
assignment.
pretty good one to get assigned to as your
Yeah.
first one if you're going to.
Oh yeah, it was huge. And I got paid a ton of money to do walkthroughs and like classroom answer guides and
Oh
things
dude,
like that.
there's so much to that
There's
game
so
as
much.
well.
Oh yeah, it was a ton, and I'd never done anything like it before. And it was like I wrote walkthroughs for the entire game. Basically made a bunch of money doing it, and then suddenly I guess I did a good enough job that I kept getting referred back for guide stuff. And then like that summer or like the year after, Destiny came out, and I was like, at that point I had become a contractual writer for Polygon
Okay.
and also for these side websites, basically doing like a certain amount of stuff a month. And then kind of Destiny's where I made a bit of a name for myself at the website, because people forget these days, but like Destiny 2 was stupid popular when it came out. Like not like very like people going, "Oh, that game." Like no, like everyone was playing it. Like
Yeah.
mainstream press people were playing it. Like your dad was playing it. Your uncle was playing it. Like your sister was playing it. Everybody was playing that game, and then they just treated it like a single player game and went, "Okay, I'm done." And then
Yeah.
maybe they did the raid, and then they probably didn't. But like I ended up bringing a bunch of Polygon people as like this random contractor dude through like Leviathan,
Okay.
which is still my favorite raid in the Destiny franchise. I love Leviathan deeply. I'm the only person you'll ever meet that will ever say that, but
Man,
it's my favorite.
Aegis just did a recap video on the speed
Mm-hmm.
run for it. Oh, the nostalgia, man. I was like, just to even go into Gauntlet and just like run through the hoops again and stuff. Like, we would, I mean, with grapple and everything, that would not, Eager Edge, it would not hold up at all. Like, we could do wild things, but
man,
it'd be so much fun.
I know we're getting some sort of variant of Pantheon or whatever this year, supposedly. Like, to me, I have always wanted a version of like Godslayer that's like Olympian, and instead of it being a bunch of boss fights, it's a bunch of the like stuff like Gauntlet and
like the
puzzle puzzly
type.
like.
Yeah.
I mean, Baths is still genuinely like a top 5 encounter for me. I love it's like in terms of clockwork encounters, very much like
yeah,
like oh man, like the opening for War Priest totems in Kingsfall.
Yep.
It's those kind of clockwork encounters. That I love that shit. So like Leviathan has nothing but that basically. So it's my favorite. But I ended up bringing a bunch of Polygon people through that, and ended up being like a person that people would DM random questions about Destiny to all the time.
Yep.
And I got to know everybody that way, and then eventually started doing Xur, and then got part-time as the websites got kind of folded into Polygon proper. And then I worked part-time for a while, got married in 2019, and the Tuesday I came back from my wedding, I got told I was full-time. So
wow,
it was,
that's pretty good wedding gift right there.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Would have been nice to know before we booked. At the time, I booked our honeymoon around BlizzCon, because I knew that I could get my hours back quickly by working the weekend at BlizzCon. So it would have been nice to know a little earlier, so we could have booked a little more, a little bit less with the idea of being like, I need to get my work hours back in, because I can't afford it otherwise. So that would have been cool. But it was pretty great. And then I was full time there for 6 years, and then we all got taken out back and shot. So that's the
What
that's the way.
what a way
That's
to
the
put it.
journalism
What a
way.
way to put it.
Well,
Sometimes,
all specifically, only the union people. Well, not only, but like specifically,
oh,
they fired everyone in the union, which I thought was
sheesh.
pretty
All
fun
right.
and also mildly illegal.
I
Maybe, but
I do want to get into that, but let's talk.
yeah.
Let's talk real quick. I want to talk a little more, just broadly about the actual work you were doing, and then I want to talk about Rogue, and we'll use that as a transitionary point. But can you tell me a little more about the actual logistics of writing a guide? So obviously, it sounds like you were kind of like laying the track as the train's barreling down, like in those early days. You said with the Persona 5, like being brought on that, and you're like, hey, I've literally never even played Persona, and so I'm trying to figure this out. Over time, like how did that develop in if you were tasked with that today, like let's say you revert back to Ryan at that time, but you know what you know, like what are the ways you tackled it, and then like contrast that with how you would actually tackle something like that today. Brand new game franchise to you.
Yeah.
I'm tasked with doing this.
I would have been a lot more organized. I would have been a lot more nervous because I know a lot more now about those games.
You know what they say, ignorance is bliss, man.
Well, the first time you play, I mean, I don't know how familiar you are, but the first time you play a Persona game, you're like, unless you're following a day-to-day guide, you're not going to get nearly as much done as you could be. And like, there's a reason. So like the entire time I was like, literally, so I wrote a classroom guide when I was a freelancer, and genuinely every single week that I was there, from freelance to leaving, a version of that classroom answer guide was in the top 10 posts.
Wow.
Or like probably at least top 20 at least. But like every month it was top 10 because like those are very important. Like you want to save time by getting the classroom answer questions correctly. And Persona is a stupidly popular series. I didn't have experience with it at all. So I would have known that like what people are actually probably looking for when they do a walkthrough of this kind of game is like, tell me what I need to do every single day so that I can get the maximum amount of stuff done. The same way that like when I played a Metaphor Refundatio, I was like, I ended up with like 10 days left where I had nothing to do. Basically, I had maxed it out because I've gotten good at figuring out how to use my time in those games at this point. I've come full circle. But at the time, I was like wasting a bunch of time not knowing what I was doing. So, but I would still like write down like in a notebook what would happen every day, so I could just like write about it. And spent most of my time on like the walkthrough of the dungeon things, which is probably not what people actually would want. I now know. So like that's a huge thing already. But like process wise, I never took notes like after that point, like in a notebook or anything like that. And it's more of like I spend a lot more time relying on minor notes that I might throw into like Slack to myself about something, or more specifically, like I'm recording everything all the time, which I was at the time then, but like I was not doing a very good job of it. So you gain a kind of guide vision at some point where you're recording something and you're like, okay, I'm recording this, but I'm recording it for future reference. So I'm going to like stop and I'm going to scan on a tooltip for a second. If I click past a tooltip or something, especially in like a Destiny, it's a big problem because you can't get that, especially you can't get that quest back. You can't get that tooltip back. So, it creates a situation where I spend a lot of time in my free time playing Destiny, recording myself for potential work stuff. Like when every time I would open the game, there was a while where I'd just throw on my NVIDIA recorder in my background. So that's a lot of it is like referencing stuff, but the process is really like, it is unique in that like, it's the type of thing, I'm not in the same way that I'm not a reporter. It's a unique skill set to do like an actual good guides. And I think based on, from what I've seen from people, we had a pretty good reputation, for Polygon for making good guides. And I think, like we did a pretty good job when we were there doing it, but like really all you're trying to do, it's like very simple, which is I think why it gets goofed up so often. Which is like all you're trying to do is explain in layman's terms as basically as possible like just guide someone through something, like tell them what to do step by step. And sometimes that involves like opinion, and sometimes it's a puzzle and it involves just step by step fact. But really, like what I would typically try to do on something like an exotic quest or like some random like puzzle in Indiana Jones or something like that is record myself playing it, ideally record myself discovering it,
Yeah.
but in a way just playing it is even better because you can like very quickly do step by step, whereas partially you're filtering out the discovery period. Something that isn't the case with Destiny, but like that people get a little twisted, um that's funny, is like we don't have a lot of guidance or any guidance typically from studios when we're doing guide stuff.
Yeah.
So part of the kind of unlike a lot of, I think a lot of the assumption around the games press is not true, but I think specifically for like guides people, like we have to be pretty plugged in on how to, and also like not terrible at things, because it's like we're the first people to beat these Elden Ring bosses that everyone else is going to struggle on.
For
And we
sure.
don't have guides to show us what to do with them. So we have to kind of figure out the strats for it. And sometimes, like in a game like that, you tumble your way through and you're like, I don't know why everyone struggled with that. I used this build and it just like worked. I don't
Yeah.
know. And then you watch other people struggle and you're like, I didn't even see them do that. So it's not always perfect. That happened to me at least once or twice doing Shadows of the Erdtree guides, where I was like, oh, I didn't really struggle with that one. And then I'd watch someone else play and be like, what even? We're fighting a different boss, basically.
Dude.
Because there's so much like depth to those bosses.
Bale put me in a blender, brother.
See, Bale was no problem for me at all. I like
kicked my ass up and down that arena. I could not. It took me so long. I mean, Radon obviously was brutal, but like that's the one that stands out more to me because I knew like obviously the final boss is going to be tough, right? Like that's a no-brainer. Oh, I could not. I was so mad.
See, that's what I love about those games just in general, is that everyone struggles with something different all the time. Like I will replay Bloodborne and I will struggle on a different boss every time. And like I depending on how I'm like, Bloodstarved Beast is a early boss in that game that I will always be like, is this a run where I struggle on this for like an hour, even though I've beaten it before, or is it a run where I kill it in one go? And I never know the answer. Like I have my strong theory on those games is that everyone, like, you can have people of two similar degrees of skill and be like, oh, Bale was easy. I had no problem with Bale.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, what are you talking about? That's the hardest boss in the entire DLC. And then someone would be like, no. I really struggled with this one. The pig rider dude.
Yeah, a third other option, yeah.
Yeah, and that same person that struggled with Bale will be like, you struggled with that? That was easy. You're like, I did more pulls on that guy than I did on the dragon. So that's like something I love about those games. But like, you definitely come to it from a place of, okay, no one's going to help me. I need to figure this out so I can help other people. And then really all you're doing is like recounting step by step what worked for you. I think one of the things I learned over time is like, you want to make sure that you are to some degree couching that, because like you don't want to make it seem like your solution is the only solution. Sometimes it is because it's some puzzle.
Sure.
And other times you're like, here's like a good way to add additional value to something like a guide is be like, here's exactly what I did. And then here's like the general philosophy around what I was doing. Because you might find success doing something similar but different. And to just say you should just do this exactly, like on a boss fight or something like that, is wrong. Similarly, in something like Destiny, you can be like, here's my loadout recommendation. But really what's more important than the weapons that I'm using are like the slots that I'm using. You know, right now, or like you're also writing these things for evergreen for forever, and you're not going to come back and update everything all the time as much as you'd like to. So it's important to like talk the strategy of dealing damage to something, and also be like, you might be reading the type of weapons that I'm using and be like, what even is that? Like, what even, what is Mountaintop and Anarchy and Recluse? Like, what is like that meta? Like, what is this?
It's like this video, Mountaintop is instant reloading, but why is it not anymore for me? It's like, well, you can't. Yeah, that's not how Luna's works anymore.
Yeah, stuff changes, so you got to kind of future prep it as well.
Yeah.
But like,
I'm
I don't
I'm
know.
struggling with that a lot. Not
Yeah.
that's something I've had to develop. So a little bit about me, and I know that
Hmm.
you were aware of some of my stuff. I think first interaction was back in Destiny Rising. I actually found something in my spam. I think it was an article that, that you had done. It was in a spam email folder or something
Yeah, I think I
that for
emailed you an
Destiny
interview
Rising.
that people were mad about that
Um,
interview.
yeah, and it was one of those things like but all the way back there. But before that, like it's just been, hey, make content for my small group, right? Like
Hmm.
100 to 200 people clan, right? Just the people that I'm interacting with in Discord, and then from there, um, just I just started making some content because it was self-serving, that I had friends that I wanted to come back to the game, and I'm like, here's a 6-minute video that I could do, and I wake up and I'm like, okay, well now I have over 1,000 subscribers, YouTube's monetized, like things are moving, people are showing up. I had a Discord link in there to a public Discord, and like they're coming in there. I was like, okay, I guess this might be a thing, and start like doubling down on that. But
For
then at a
sure.
certain point, it was like, okay, what could I do to differentiate? And so continuing for those new and returning players, because believe it or not, there are still people who are coming in and playing for the first time. It's just there's no retention on the back end, right? So they're, like you were saying, they're coming in treating it like a single player game.
Yeah.
And if they don't find community, which is harder and harder now than ever it has been, like that's the
Yeah.
only reason I still play Destiny, is because I found a community of people who made it fun to raid every time something new came out. A new dungeon for me coming out right now is super, super, like that gets me juiced up because I'm like, I have people to play with. I'm going to get everything from there. I'm going to extract all the value from that activity. But for the vast majority of Destiny players, they're getting, shit all from that dungeon because they're not going to go in it because either they're not skilled enough, they don't have people to play with, or they're just like, they're just kind of in this middle area.
Yeah.
And so what I've found is a place where I'm going back, actually, kind of what you were just saying, with you try to make evergreen content, but at the same time,
Yeah.
you know that you can't go back and edit things all the time. And that's even double and triple that on YouTube videos, right?
Yeah.
At least you guys technically can go back. You can optimize
We did all the
SEO
time.
and do things.
Yeah.
But I can't do that. So like when I'm writing my scripts and stuff, man, like I am very specific on like, hey, these are the core things that will not change about the mission. And then I'm even taking the approach. So like I had a very well performing Outbreak Perfected guide that I put out last season because Outbreak rose in meta relevance and everything. But if I had to go back and do that again, there's specific things that I said in that video, talking specifically about the Edge of Fate or talking about the current meta, that I would just axe. Because I'm like, that even gives it further relevance, right? Like beyond that, where it can become even more evergreen, where now, I'm at a place where I'm like, should I make something updated? Not, I don't think I will, but that's the kind of thing I'm doing. So I do struggle with that sometimes, where it's like games coverage, or like for me, just covering Destiny. It's like trying to find the evergreen in a game that's always changing is very, very difficult.
Yeah, it's that there's a lot of major differences there are a lot of things that I think we do very similarly, and I think there's a lot of been I think a lot of kind of old school journalist folks would disagree with me, but like at least in terms of like the current process on entertainment journalism, it's like the difference between what we do and what y'all do at this point isn't that different. There are ethical guidelines that are different and things like that that um believe it or not, some of us care a lot about. So like there are differences there, but like it's becoming more and more homogenous in terms of like the relationship between journalism and just like general content stuff. Like it is different, but like the lines have blurred significantly since I've started doing it at the very least, and like publishers and developers are treating them um similarly as well. But like we would like yeah, we have different challenges on the writing and the video end for sure. Because writing, we can come in and edit something really easily, which is great,
Yeah.
and we would pretty regularly. But like we would also have to play the SEO game a lot, the Google search engine optimization, a lot in a way that like I know you guys do as well, but it's a different kind of game that you're playing. So
Yeah.
like
I feel like we throw ours more. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like once I optimize a video, I've gone back and I've tried to, right? Like, so say that outbreak guide.
Yeah.
If it comes back to meta relevance in shadow and order, let's say that they say, hey, we were too harsh on primaries and how they regen super, so we're bringing it back, and outbreak comes back to the top. I don't know that they're like, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know that there's going to be a ton that I can do. Like, I can refresh some of the packaging and some of the SEO, but I don't know that it's going to nudge it as much as maybe like on the article side. Like maybe you could do that and give it a fresh coat of paint. Or does it even benefit you as much on the article to like, does it benefit you more to create something new, or does it benefit you more to do something that's been established online?
The thing would change over time because Google is always changing. So every like website that you go to that is reliant on ad packaging from Google isn't completely enthralled with what Google needs and what Google wants.
Okay.
That is the be all end all for everything. Everything is behind that. It's the way that you get page. It's the way that like where you are ranked on the search like bar is the only thing that matters. If you're like getting top rank is the only thing that matters. So everything is built up from that. And more often than not, at least in the recent years, Google does not like it if you are basically publishing something new that is too similar to something you had. So the thinking that we did for a long time was like, go update an old post. Like, so in a reality where you're like, I think I just need to make a new outbreak guide.
Sure.
If it came back, I'm the opposite boat where I'm like, no, I'm going to spend all day reworking my old one instead.
I see.
Updating it and basically gutting it and building something new if I need to. Now the difference there is like, what is there to latch on to, right? Because I had an old outbreak perfected guide, I believe, from back when 0 Hour launched. And I cannot remember. What we might have done is taken it down, like the old one down, and just done, because I know I did a completely new one when, what
Into the Light
update, yeah, that brought 0 Hour back.
Yep.
So in Into the Light got 0 Hour back, I did a completely new, and then obviously like the puzzle for it was totally new. You're not doing the like binary stuff the same exact way. So all of that had changed. And so I wrote something completely new for it, but packaged it in some ways would go back and package it in an old way. So whenever they would go in and make changes to it after the End of the Light update, because they made a couple changes to that version, if I recall, I went in and just updated that version of post because I can change all the text or whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
there was the weekly rollout feature too. That's something that I've always been. So, working on, I just finished a series of exotic mission guides, and something I've never made was a whisper guide.
Mm-hmm.
So even with that, even though it's not the most meta relevant right now, I'm very completionist in nature when it comes to the work I'm doing. I don't actually have that in games. Like in Destiny, I'm going to unlock all the exotics and stuff because there's not that much else to do. But like if I play a game and I beat the story before I unlock all the achievements or something like that, I'll just put it aside. Like it's fine. But in my work, I hate having that like open-endedness, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I went through, because Bungie refined this season, like how you get all the exotics from those missions now that they're in the portal. Everything is in the portal other than 0 Hour. And then there's like a new different Whisper version, and then Seraph Shield. Like those are the only ones that aren't in there. And they refined it like with a patch that came out in week 2 of Renegades. And so I've just been going through and like teaching people, here's how you get Vexcalibur. Here's how you do, like now, how you do it.
Wow. Yeah. Do you have to have like a second account for that? Like
I do. Yeah. I have 2 alt accounts. One that I'm seeding right now. Actually, it's a solo flawless account, so I've not played with anyone, and I've not died in like 10 hours on that account, like from New Light.
Self-found.
Yeah.
funny.
So I'm going to, over time, like as I need to, I'm playing on that account, trying to not die. And I'm just going to die to some bullshit. Like like some sort of gravity thing. I'll die to a Cabal drop pod. Like it's inevitable. But I've always thought in the back of my head, like, I wonder what the longest time someone's like created a new account and not died on the account. And so I said, like, maybe I'll just culminate with something like, like a solo flawless, like Shattered Throne or something, like just to go and do that and then like just allow myself to die or whatever, like and do that. But yes, I do have to have the multiple accounts. But
I had at least one extra at one point. Destiny's when I was asked to do stuff with that, like that with
for sure. But to bring it back to like being able to update those articles. So I was working on the Whisper guide and I was like, man, this looks different. I wanted to see what it looked like on like week 1. So I think I went and looked at like Fallout's guide. And he put out a guide for Whisper Into the Light week 1. And he had a interesting thing where you could like hover your crosshair in certain places in the map, like in the game, and it would grab onto where the oracles, like the Vex oracles, but they weren't in there yet. So they just were invisible. I don't know why they did it that way. So he was able to identify, like on day 1, here's where all the locations are, but you couldn't access them. So I wonder, like, you know, that was just like the latest example of, man, it would be nice to be able to just go back and swap some things out on this video or something like that. To your guys' credit, what you can do.
I mean, that's like, I would use some of those types of things or like data mining stuff to basically plan out weeks in advance for guides like that as well. The one, like, that's a whole theoretical question of like, for 0 hour, we did like, here's the walkthrough for the mission, and we can link back to that every week. And then we did, I think, 2 other guides, one for the catalyst puzzles and one for all the origin trait puzzles.
Yep.
And so like, there's a reality where we just put all that into one thing. But it was like, I think this will be the best way to do it because we have to update one of them and we don't have to update something else. So it makes more sense to do it one way. It's definitely like the kind of, Destiny rarely had this kind of problem. It was much more of a, like, it was a pretty guide friendly game in terms of like pretty good, consistent amount of stuff to write guides for. And then also like the biggest problem that you would have is like, oops, I forgot to record, or something old changed. And from our perspective, like if you want to do like 100% completion on work stuff, you would have hated my job because it was much like you don't have time to finish all that stuff. And it's not up to you, so you get sent off to some other thing. I remember doing like Final Shape guides, and it was like this massive, huge expansion for us, obviously. And then like at the end of, you know, I did the initial guides running up to the raid. I wrote a raid guide on that Monday after basically not sleeping at all, doing the contest mode with my friends, and getting to the witness, and which I'm proud of, but not being able to kill it because he was fucking impossible.
It was ridiculous.
So, but we got to him. I was proud of that. That's good enough. And I spent all weekend doing that, then crammed on the raid guide on that Monday, and then Dual Destiny came out. It's like crammed hard on like a really long walkthrough for that, and then was basically told, okay, now you need to move over to Shadows of the Erdtree. And then that was probably the hardest like 6 weeks to 2 months I ever worked for the job.
I'm sure,
because it was
I can see that
one right into the other, and Shadow of the Erdtree had to be huge. It was going to be huge for us, and so it was like the biggest thing since Tears of the Kingdom, which I was on parental leave for, so I completely missed out on it. So it was like, okay, well, we have far fewer people on Shadows of the Erdtree, and it needs to be like basically, so go with God. I know you basically barely slept and also have a 1-year-old, but have a great time. That was a lot of work, but the thing that a lot of other games don't have, like Destiny always has plenty to write about, whereas like something like Starfield, one of the more aggravating parts of what we had to do for SEO stuff was like, you would write the answer to the question, but if the answer to the question was too simple, Google doesn't like it if you only have one header of it in the page. So if you're like, here's, you know, like if you're thinking about guide writing as being like, how do I explain how to turn off like frame rate smoothing on this TV for my grandmother over the phone?
Sure.
If that's like how you're thinking about it, what is this problem I need to solve? The answer that you're looking for is like, okay, here are the 6 steps to turning off frame rate smoothing on her new TV. But Google's not going to like that because it's just saying that. So instead, you need to also say, okay, here's the step-by-step, Grandma. I'm going to read it off to you. And then also you need to have a section under that is, what is frame rate smoothing?
Yeah.
Where you explain it. And then you have a section under that, ideally, that is like, and why should you turn it off? So like you're answering multiple questions in a single guide, but they have to like stay relevant. There's like a sweet spot where if you start asking too many questions, then you need to make a new guide because now there's too many anchor points for Google. Now this needs to be. I've said so many times where I would have written something out and it was very aggravating because I'd turn it in and somebody would be like, "This seems like 2 guides to me," and you'd be like, "God damn it! Okay, I will extract the stuff that needs to be a second guide, and I will write up a whole new SEO markup for it, and I will make a whole new article, and I will copy paste it in there, and then I will fill out both of these things so they can actually exist as separate entities now."
Yeah.
So there's like the most obnoxious. I really love writing guides. I love helping people through stuff. It's like on the dark days of history that happened between when I started writing it and or started writing in Polygon and then stopped. Like it's the kind of gig that you look at and you're like, what am I doing with my life? Am I adding any value to anybody? And like genuinely, guide writing was one of the few things that I could be like, somewhere out there, someone who is doing something very important is going to come home and need some help with this Elden Ring boss, and I'm going to be there for him. And like that was how I love writing guides. I think helping people through games is like one of my a genuine passion. The worst part about doing the whole thing was trying to appeal to Google all the time.
Yeah.
It sucked.
I can see that. It kind of reminds me of the whole like classic look up an ingredient or like a recipe to something and then you get to the bottom of like it's buried in there somewhere, but then like you have to have the story about how this person's grandma's aunt's uncle did this, that kind of thing. And it's just, I don't care. I want to know how much like cumin I need to put in this thing.
Yeah, well, if you just write how much cumin you need to put into it, Google won't pick it up. And so then the thing is like you wouldn't be reading it.
That's fair.
Like the actual answer is like you wouldn't be reading it at all. You'd be reading people get mad at other people for doing that, which I totally get. But it's like you would be, if you're not going to be mad at us, you're going to be mad at someone else who did the thing that we did to make sure Google saw it.
Yep.
Like you'd be reading the second person who did the same thing. They just did it slightly worse than us. Yeah. It was like we spent on big projects like Tears of the Kingdom or shout out the Erdtree. We would spend like, they would have people who do like SEO audits and stuff where you'd put out a guide and then it was people's jobs, like my boss's jobs, to look through and be like, how are we ranking on Google? Oh, we fall into 3rd place on this one. Okay, go and revamp this guide, add this to it. Sometimes it's not even substantive content. It would just be like, change this in the SEO specific headline that only shows up on Google, or change your intro around so it mentions the game 2 or 3 more times by name, stuff like that. Like it becomes a lot of like really goofing around with SEO shit that gets really tiring.
I gotcha.
But it was cool. I mean, it was a very enjoyable work period, all told.
Well, because I can kind of hear on your voice, like that's not something that you loved. Obviously, you said that like you loved making the guides, but not necessarily playing that game. So let's talk about your forced exit from that game and what you're trying to do to not do that. So I'll let you tell a story, but a little bit of context here. In May of 2025, Vox Media sold Polygon, like you mentioned earlier, and with that, you and others at the publication lost your jobs. Sounds like, to put it lightly, you said took out back and shot your exact words, but at that point you're kind of left wondering what's next. And can you tell us, before we talk specifically about what you're doing now, can you tell us more about like what that actual experience was like? Obviously it sounds like it was rough,
bad.
And,
yeah.
But I think we hear about people laying off, and you hear about that a lot in the games industry. Obviously this is a different piece, but you hear about that. And then I think we speak very flippantly about that, right? And we just do, right? We're just like, this happened. Like Microsoft laid off these people, and it rolls off the tongue so casually nowadays. Yep. But like with this being your first gig, you mentioned that earlier. What was that like in that time period before you guys kind of rallied together, bounced back, and how fast did that actually occur?
Well, I survived a lot of them, is the other thing. It's like you can't be in anything like that for 9 years and not survive a lot of them. And
Sure.
Polygon historically didn't get hit too hard. I mean, we definitely lost. I definitely lost coworkers along the way, which was horrible. And we would do what we can to support them by like GoFundmes or through the union or whatever. And then to be on the other side of that was surreal. But it's like not a good experience. My I not to suggest that I had somehow a worse experience, but my wife, who works in a completely different career field, got laid off 2 weeks before I did.
Oh, wow.
And we had our daughter had turned 2 a couple months before. We were like discussing having a second kid, working towards that, and like she got laid off, and we're like, oh, that's bad. Okay, well, I would never expected that my job would be the stable one, haha. And then 2 weeks later, we
Mm.
got fucked. And just like in some degree, I'm very grateful that it happened that I got when all of us got because it was
Okay.
there's a lot of camaraderie to it, which is like, to be clear, I would have rather have gotten laid off and my coworkers have kept their jobs. But if
Yeah,
we all
I'm
had
with
to
you.
get canned at once, I'm glad I got canned at once and not piecemeal.
Sure.
Because it was like we set up a Discord and all like stayed in contact. We're still in contact with each other, and like it's it opens up your options in terms of like other people out there looking for stuff to do. Now the flip side is that like now you have a bunch of people who are all looking for stuff all at once.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of folks aren't necessarily looking to stay in games media and things like that. Games media itself is like not in a great spot. The other flip side of that is like the time that Polygon getting basically killed, being the time that I got laid off, is like there are a lot of people. If you work somewhere like Polygon that people would regularly get pretty mad at, um, then or like in a time where people like post Gamergate where people don't like the press, some reasons I think are like make some amount of sense as to why they like might not like the press. I think they're all always misguided. But more importantly, like people really didn't like Polygon because we were pretty openly political about things that were important to us, and like, I think generally like the world itself, and gamers a lot of times don't like that. And so there was also a lot of like celebration on the internet when we got laid off, which is very
Mm.
surreal in a
Yeah.
way that sucks. But like I had the luxury of being on the guides team where people would occasionally be like, yeah, fuck Polygon. I'm glad they're all gone. The guides were pretty good though. Like I got a couple bones there, but like still doesn't wasn't great. So
Yeah.
the experience was tough. It was like it was tough for our family in that moment. For to be like completely unemployed, everybody around. Thankfully, that I mean, ultimately, the ultimate story of all of this is like the union changed my life while I was there. It's the reason that I made the money that I made. It's the reason that I had the benefits that I had. Um, like one of the more profound experiences of working at Polygon was like helping bargain a second contract.
Mm.
Like being part of the committee for doing that. It's I'm actually going into social work as a field
Okay.
starting in the fall. I'll still be doing game stuff. Like part of the reason I wanted to do it was because I could still do what I'm doing with my website, still do stuff like the podcast, stuff like that. But like um, I don't think I would necessarily be going into social work or even have been able to get in without having the experience going and bargaining a contract for my fellow coworkers. It kind of changed everything. And we had incredible severance benefits. So like we had time to kind of sit back and reflect, which you would want after 9 years of working at the same place to be like,
Yeah.
I mean, I need time. That time goes by a lot faster than you think, and I didn't use any of it to like relax, which I probably should have. Um, but like my wife's severance window was significantly shorter, and
Mm.
miraculously, she found something in her field relatively quickly. I knew that me finding something exactly like Vox Media again was like never going to happen. Um, it was the type of thing where a couple of us were talking the day that it happened and being like, I'm coming to the realization that I'm in my early 30s and I don't think I will ever have a job this good again.
Mm.
And that's like a difficult. There's already like an aspect of being in your 30s. You're like, oh, okay, I'm like a full on adult at this point. I still have a lot of life ahead of me,
Yeah.
ideally.
Yeah.
but like I have firmly, like, at least for me, it's like I'm a parent of a 3-year-old. I have fully entered into that next area, that next phase of
Sure.
my life. And so it's pretty surreal to be like, I'm in the middle. I have a lot of years of working ahead of me. I mean, as a millennial, I'm probably going to be working until I'm dead. Unless something really cool happens, that's probably what's going to be happening. So, but you're like, I mean, I don't think I will ever have a union job that has this good of benefits and like that is around this area of this thing that I'm personally passionate about ever again. And like again, I've talked a little bit about it. Like there are aspects about it that were not super fun. My relationship with like video games and my personal life now is all sorts of weird and mixed
Oh
up,
yeah.
and it's very difficult.
I feel that
Yeah,
for
it's
sure. I mean,
hard
and I
to
can't
not
even
feel like you're
imagine.
working all the time a little bit.
Yeah.
Even when you're just playing something to enjoy it. Because like I was on like the Game of the Year committee, so everything that I played was like, well, I might have to talk to about this at work.
Yeah.
So like it mixes with your head a little bit, and so like in some ways you're like, okay, this is a chance for something different, chance for something new. But also like I'm at a period in the early parts of my life where I don't know if it'll ever be this good again, and I think I'm very happy with how things are going right now on the path that I'm currently on, but like it was rough.
Yeah.
Hard to like to look at that, and especially in with both of us being out of work, it was just kind of felt a little rudderless there. Thankfully, like I already had I was already invited via to go and preview Edge 8.
Okay.
I had like literally agreed to go and do that preview for Polygon like the week before I had gotten the green light to
Wow.
go. And so like before I lost all my email contacts, I emailed Bungie and was like, am I still coming to the, hey, here's what happened, or am I still, what's happening? And like everything was already booked. And so they were like, yeah, you can still come do freelance stuff.
Wow.
And I was like, cool. Well, this is going to be good. And so I ended up using a coworker of mine who did a bunch of guide stuff. We spun off a little guides blog called Big Friendly Guide that we ended up doing some stuff with, and I wrote a preview for that. But also, like, I hooked up with the guys from PC Gamer that I met at the Marathon preview event in April, and ended up writing the Edge of Fate preview for PC Gamer, which was
Oh wow.
is super long, which was also like cool. That was like my first like other publication that I'd ever done. It was
Sure.
PC Gamer of all things. So like it, I was kind of hustling from the beginning to try to make things work for me. Trying to actually, I mean, as you know, though, like trying, like effort in this particular space, effort put in does not always, it's not like other career fields where you can like just put in the hardest and longest amount of work and you get success from it.
Yeah.
It can be like, you can work real hard. I've seen like very big name streamers balk at the idea, like, which I always appreciate, balk at the idea that like they're popular just because they're better, and people are like, or because they worked hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, if hard work was the only thing that was required to be successful on the internet, there'd be a lot more streamers, like big name streamers making millions, because like everyone works hard at it.
Yeah.
Like I've worked hard at everything I've done, and like we do okay, but like I'm supplementing my income doing other things and trying to figure stuff out. I'm going to school in the fall
Sure.
to transition into something a little bit more stable, because my wife is also pregnant, so we're gonna have like this 2 kids, and
Congrats, man.
thank you. Then we're done. We're fully done after this.
There you go.
Fully done, 100%. But like, I'm looking for something that's more stable than just like doing game stuff, and I can still always do that on the side. But so it's definitely the realization that like that part of my life was over was like tough. Especially because like I think it's the type of thing where you spend a lot of time when you work somewhere like that for like 9 years, and it's all the thing you wanted to do. A lot of your identity is wrapped up into that in a really weird way. That you just like certainly don't, not to get like too existential on everybody.
No, I think it's great, man.
Cool. But the a lot of your identity is wrapped up into that, and I spend a lot of time like I'm going into social work largely because to pursue like therapy stuff, and part of the reason I started personally going to therapy was like sincere anxiety around losing my job for years, because I knew that this is how it was going to go. That it was like well, whether I get fired because I do a bad job or whether I get laid off or whatever, finding something new is going to be fucking impossible. Like,
Yeah.
and I worry about, I'm in Kansas City. I'm from Kansas City. My family's here. It's important that I stay here. And so I'm like, how am I ever going to find a job that fits my skill set in this like middle of the country, even with remote work being what it is?
Yep.
I'm freaking out about it. And then like I went into that for the entire purpose of like I need to get a grip on this. Um I think the thing that probably helped me most was like becoming a parent. That changes your perspective a lot.
Yeah.
My job became a lot less the most important thing to me in 2023 when my daughter was born, and so I mellowed out. This is me much more mellow than I was before, which is probably
Nice.
alarming to people
Yeah.
when they hear me talk. They're like, Jesus. But
There
I
was
came
another
back.
level.
Yeah, no, yeah. I came back and talked to my coworkers who had parents, and he was like, yeah, I was curious what way you're going to go. I have a theory that people either get more chill or less chill when they have kids. I'm glad you went more chill. I'm like, I don't think I could have gotten less chill. Like, I
That's
don't
funny.
think I would just been more stressed. So I,
Well, I'm gonna figure that
that
out
helped a
for
lot.
myself here in a couple months. So we're having our
Oh,
first daughter as
congratulations.
well. Yeah, thanks,
Wow.
man.
Yeah. It'll be your first kid
It'll
too?
be our first kid. So
Yeah.
we'll
That's
see.
awesome, man.
Y'all might be in for a treat because I'm a pretty chill guy. So we'll see. Maybe I'll turn up the heat a little bit.
Yeah. It tends to go one or two directions. It doesn't mean that, but it also like being chill does not mean you'll become more stressed. It can go both ways. So,
Sure.
but yeah, it'll change everything and nothing. Is like, it's impossible to truly know how it will, what it will do to you in the perspective it will give. But like, I remember being like, am I even gonna still like have time to play games? Or like, am I gonna? It's like, of course I am. Like, I'm still me. I'm still gonna make time for
Sure.
all these things. Like, but it's one of those things where I'm sure right now you guys are very much like, I don't know what life looks like after this certain
Yeah.
period of time, and yeah, like it gets figured out, and but it changed. The thing it changes the most is your perspective,
Yeah.
and so I'm very endlessly grateful to her for that, because I have overall handled this entire thing mentally a lot better than I would have like 4 years ago.
Sure.
But that's the deep down psyche spiral of what last year was. It was bad
Yeah.
year. It was bad.
Well,
It's tough.
I think being able to look at something like that and call it by its name, right? Like say, no, that fucking sucked, dude. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
was terrible. And I've had some personal things as well that have brought me and made me who I am today. And so I had a conversation. I think I was it was funny. I was with my parents. I recently took our first adult. So I've been married for like 8 years, right? So but we took our first adult like family vacation with my parents and my adult sister who just graduated from college too. So it's like 5 adults going just
Yeah,
I don't
hell
know.
yeah, dude. Adult vacation rules.
Yeah, and you're like, but there's a little aspect of it where you're trying to recapture those vacations you had as a child, right? Like I'm like, okay, well, on those vacations they were a little more like fun because you're going to like a water park instead of like this little like renting a condo on the beach and then just like
Yeah.
try to make your own thing. So it's much more a much different vibe. My mom made a comment. She's like, "Man, you're like, I just remember when you were so young, like, you used to just be laughing and running around and not so serious all the time." And I'm like, I'm sorry, you grow up, right? Like you have experiences that happen in life and you want to be prepared for things. And so we had to have like kind of a real conversation about it because she's like, just in the past you didn't have a care in the world. And I'm like, well, maybe that's why this happened, so like you're just trying to lock in basically, right? And position yourself well. And I'm sure you've had a bit of that too, where you're like, okay, let me like, even if you handled it better than you would have,
Sure.
like you said, 4 years ago, you're still checking your corners, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
You're keeping head on a swivel and it impacts you.
Well, I think about it from the other side now. I was literally thinking about this like at my most recent therapy session where I was like, it's interesting because I realize, I think about like, I watch my 3-year-old run around so happy, not a care in the world, like almost happy all the time. Anytime, even like a bump, it just like goes away quick and she's back to being fun. And I look at that and I'm like, it makes me so sad to know that that's going to go away. that the world is going to beat that out of her. And then I think about, from my parents' perspective, who I'm very close to, being like, watching me be so tired and so like stressed out about everything right now, and stressed out about money and all this other stuff that's happening right now. And I'm like, that must make them so sad. And so I get it. I get what your mom is talking about.
Sure,
because
sure.
The hardest, I mean, like this is just getting parentally philosophical at this point, but like the hardest,
bro, this is great. I love this.
The hardest thing I think that parents struggle with generally is understanding where they're like letting go of the control. Yeah. Like that's where parents get tripped up, is you control so much, and then over time you control less and less and less, and eventually you just have to let go. And that's where people get stuck. It's hard because like at this point, I mean, you do everything for them. It's why I think like I struggle a lot trying to understand, or at least with places I'm at, parents that like raise their kids and then their kids make some sort of life decision, or like come out or reveal something about themselves with their parents, like, and then their parents like go, I can't do this anymore. It's like, what are you talking? You did everything for them.
Yeah.
For like 5+ years, and this, like them being their own person, is the thing that breaks the camel's back for you. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But like the general point being like, she's so happy, and like losing that, like letting the kids like grow up and be their own people is like the hardest thing. And also trying to understand like where their estimation of their age is versus like what yours is. And like people are very quick to be like, kids always think they can do more than they're capable of, but parents are also very slow to adjust to that period. So there's a middle ground that people miss, understandably, all the time. And like when you look at it that way, and now from the other side of things, trying to remember like in one side of my brain what it was like to be a kid, and then also like preparing for the next many years of parenting, it's like, man, there's going to come a time where she's just going to be like, the light is going to go out of her eyes. And it's part of it's like, we got to make the most of it that we can. And another part of it's just like, it's just going to be sad. And it's not, I like being an adult. So I like it better than when I was a kid. But I absolutely understand how my parents probably look at me right now and be like, remember how happy he used to be? Like, yeah. Remember how happy that was? Like, I thought, where did that go? And you're like, well, it got destroyed by the system. So, like, as it is designed to do. So, yeah, I mean, I sympathize with both. I'm at a place right now where I sympathize with both parties. Like, yeah, I get it. It's hard to exist and not be a bummer, but also, like, as a parent, all you want is for, like, to hold on to for your kids to recognize the joy that there is in life for as long as possible, because eventually it'll get beaten out of you. And I imagine it's pretty sad to finally look at it and go, well, it's gone. It's finally gone. They have to pay bills now. They have to pay taxes. It's over. The joy is gone.
You know, that's also been something that's tough. That's been tough for me as a spouse as well. Seeing some of that, not necessarily in the same manner, right? It's not like a thing where you've seen that go out, but when expectations don't match what you thought they were going to be, whether it's a new job, a new endeavor, it's a new hobby that you pick up, it's a new friend that you met that you're really close to for a while, and then like you fade away, or relationships, whatever it may be. Maybe it is their relationship with their parents, or how you envisioned like what every day would look like, you know, coming home from work and like, oh my God, we're so tired and we're so old and we don't do anything and just want to scroll phones and, you know, and figure this stuff out. And so I do think that's the only good like analog that I personally have at this moment. Obviously in just a couple of months, that's going to change for me when our daughter is born. But I will say, I think that from my perspective, what I've found is that there are intentional things that you can do to kind of like sprinkle those moments in to try to recapture that. And I'm hoping, and I'm sure that you probably have thought about this as well, as you said, like that you've been ruminating on this recently, is like how can we optimize, right? The same manner as the optimization we're doing for people on the internet for the video games, like how can we optimize for the people around us? And I think there's something special in that, like being able to take that personal experience and being like, or taking the things that we're passionate about and the things we're good at over here on the professional side and be like, okay, how do we sprinkle a little bit of that sauce on our relationships and bring that there. So well, man, thank you very much for talking about that. That's awesome. The whole point of this podcast is like it's to show like the human behind the creations, right? Like that's the thing, is like breaking down the walls and showing like, hey, how there actually is another person on the other side of those mean comments you're posting, or the tweets saying that you're excited that people got laid off from Polygon or whatever. Like there are people on the other side, and whether you agree with their political piece and stuff like this, every single person has a different lifestyle that they're coming from and perspective on it. And so
I saw them and they made me sad. So mission accomplished. Like that's the goal. Mission accomplished. They bummed me out.
Terrible goal. Terrible goal.
Yeah, exactly.
But, sucks. So all right. So I have a bunch of things on here, but sure. I think we've kind of taken things in an interesting direction. I do want to kind of
sorry.
No. Interesting is not bad. Interesting is not bad. It's just different. Like I said, this is a framework, stuff of this sort.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Destiny for a bit. Okay. So we're going to talk Destiny, which I don't know if that's lighter, but I want to try to be.
I don't think it is right now.
So it's lighter in the fact that it's just a damn video game at the end of the day. And if you don't want to play, if you don't want to turn on Destiny 2, that's more than fine. You don't have to. People act like they are chained to this game, and like Steam automatically pulls their mouse to it and clicks it, or Xbox fires up and can only load that in. Just click something else if you don't want to play Destiny. But I still like playing Destiny. I like helping people in Destiny. I hope for things in Destiny. You've been covering Destiny for almost a decade. Like when it came out, you said you were playing back then, doing all that. What has that experience been like, kind of riding the highs and lows of it over the years? And what were some of the hardest times, and what are some of the easiest times where you're like, okay, all right, we're cooking, like things are flowing here with my relationship with the game?
Yeah, like obviously, like the easiest times are like Forsaken and Witch Queen, and when things are good, like it's easy. From like a work perspective, it's also better around then too, because those are like the more secretive times are better. Work wise, we're always better because
interesting.
We have more stuff to do, because there would come a time like in the more modern era, even like Witch Queen Lightfall, where like the number of secrets we had was like pretty heavily diminished from something like Forsaken, where it was like, well, one of our best performing guides like of all time was like the Whisper. When that came out, like that was like I know that you might talk about like big days that happened, but like that in terms of like my personal work and personal excitement, like Whisper dropping was like easily one of the biggest moments for me and for everybody, like when that happened, and it was a huge like guide opportunity. So like that was easy, like that kind of stuff. Trying to find stuff to do, and at other times when it was like a lot more simple, in the more recent years, it's been a lot more like straightforward on a lot of stuff. You need fewer and fewer guides. Sure. Guides like YouTube guides get shorter, all that stuff is like that's hard to deal with. But like on a personal level, it's when we talked a little bit about this. Like my cross to bear has been trying to be video game uncle that goes on Twitter to be like, can we like relax for half a second, please? Like, can we actually take like a moment to think about what we know versus what we think? And shut up, please. Like that. Those times are the most harrowing now, and post final shape and pre final shape, and like those are the worst times, because the Destiny community is just not super good at feelings versus facts, which I realize the internet just in general isn't, but the Destiny community is especially bad at it. And it's really aggravating. And I think partially it's like that there are people in the community who are absolutely sensationalists and will take every opportunity to see a small piece of data or something and then extrapolate a much larger point out from it. and it just doesn't work that way. Like we just don't.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of like. It's why I'm very. I mean, I talked a lot about this on last week's marathon podcast. Like I'm very careful. I try to be about like taking data and extrapolating an end from it, because like you can look at Steam data right now and be like, well, this seems bad, and I agree with you. It does seem bad. Like it's easily the worst it's been. It's like that's pretty concerning. I'm concerned about it. But what does it mean? I don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
The amount of people at Bungie that know is very small. Like speaking as somebody who worked at a big company that got absolutely obliterated, let me tell you, the amount of people who knew about that happening, very, very few. So the amount of people that even at Bungie that you could talk to that would be like, yeah, I think we're in trouble, is very few. It's like, is it somebody who has like a monthly meeting with Justin Truman? No, then they probably don't know.
Yeah.
They probably don't know what the numbers need to look like. And like, so we can look at it and be like, it's good, it's bad, or it's like, it's so bad right now. But like, the counterpoint that I have been trying to push, that I've been thinking about for a while, is like let me express to you how little we know about this, which is that there's an entire reality. I know this is getting a little off topic, which hopefully an hour and 15 minutes of the conversation you're used to at this point.
Yeah, you're chilling at this point. You're locked in.
So something to like consider around the whole numbers conversation, which I feel like is where this is going anyway, is like, we have to look at how successful Destiny 2 has been to understand the numbers. Since 2019, Destiny 2 hit the platinum bestsellers on Steam every year for 5 years, 2019 through 2024. And keep in mind, it did not come to Steam until its second year out. So it's already a 2-year-old video game by the time it comes there, and it still hits platinum sales. 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. That is top, I think, 12 or 10 or 12 best-selling games on Steam, the biggest video game platform on Earth. It is regularly hitting over 300,000 concurrents on Lightfall. The only reason it didn't hit a bigger number than on Final Shape is because of bad server issues. Likely. It was like 1,000 away. I mean, like, we don't know for sure, but like it would have hit if the server issues would have been. It would have been a different record. That's a ridiculous amount of players for a game that is 9 years old, almost. That will turn 9 this year. The first time it didn't make it into the platinum was this last year, and it's been a really rough year. 2025 was a bad year, Destiny, for sure, undoubtedly. But the equivalent that I don't see people talking about is being like, if you want to wonder why Destiny 3 doesn't exist, and you want to be cynical about it, it's because Destiny 2 is still making money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. And Destiny 2 is the type of game that the second you put out Destiny 3, you kneecap Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is done making money the second Destiny 3 comes out. So from a business perspective, are you going to drop millions and millions and millions and millions and millions on Destiny 3 when Destiny 2 is still the golden goose? It is a game that is still hitting 300,000 players 7-8 years into its lifespan. Why on earth would a suit, like, I understand from a player perspective, from a developer perspective, why you'd be like, we need a Destiny 3. But from a suit's perspective, where you're like, give us money to make Destiny 3, they'll be like, why? Is it going to be as successful? Maybe it's more successful than Destiny 2 is for a couple of years, and then it'll eventually dip down to what Destiny 2 has done. So why don't you just ride out Destiny 2 for as long as it'll go, milk that cow for as long as you can, get as many eggs from that golden goose as possible, and then we'll talk. And I think, personally, that's what's happening. If we want to be honest, I think the reason, I fully believe Destiny 3 is in development right now. There was that rumor a couple months ago. I don't know for sure, but I fully believe it's happening in development. And I genuinely believe that the reason it's happening now and not 2 years from now is because somebody at the business was like, well, let's see. Well, sure, it makes sense to start to ram something up so you have something ready for Final Shape, but maybe they can take the existing framework and warp it around to something that is still as successful with fewer people on it. That didn't work out, obviously. 2025 was not a good year for the game, both directionally and player-wise. But someone, I think, decided to take a gamble to say, well, why don't we just keep trying to make it go? Because then we can keep paying a significantly less money to operate it and making just as much money as before. So to the same thing that people look at and they go like, oh shit, Destiny 2's dying. Look at its numbers. It's never going to come back from this. Is potentially, in my opinion, the same reason why Destiny 3 might be happening at all. If Destiny 2 was successful for another 5 years, I don't think Destiny 3 would be actively in development.
No.
The downfall of Destiny 2 no longer being the golden goose is the reason I think they would be trying to replace it.
Yeah.
To be purely cynical about it, like that's how business works. You are not going to kneecap your game, which will cost you millions and millions to build a new one, when it's still making money.
Yeah.
Like, do I know that's what's happening? Of course I don't. But I know that's not. But I know that's happening to the same degree that everyone else who thinks the game is dying and dead forever thinks is happening. We have the same data telling two what I think is equally plausible stories. I think my story is more plausible, to be honest with you, because Destiny's made a lot of money over the years, and you don't just go, well, not making money anymore, shut her down. That's not what you do when a game has been this successful. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but like, I saw, I'm sorry, poor person if you see this, but like, I saw some genuine idiot yesterday, I think, be like, I don't think we're ever getting another expansion. And it's like, what are you talking about? Where do you have to support that? Maybe that's true, but like, there's so much stuff that we as the Destiny community have to be concerned about and should be talking about loudly about the game being unhealthy. But like the roadmap, like I don't think it's good that Bungie did not communicate about it at all in January, but they said we were going to get it, and they said they were going to get it, and it was going to take a longer time to get through. So like, don't worry about that. Worry about all the other shit that's happening in the game that sucks, and go tell somebody about it. Like, if we just channel the energy that the Destiny community have into the actual problems in the game itself, which is what happens when the game is in a good spot, is that everyone channels their negative energy into actual problems.
Yeah.
Like we'd be in such a better place. But instead, all of the sensationalist people out there are trying to drag everyone into this conversation of like, is the game we all love going away? Which is at the heart of it, the anxiety that everyone is expressing. Is like, there's nothing else like Destiny, which is just true. Is it going away? I hate Marathon because it took this thing that I love and it took it away from me. That's not actually what's happening, but that's how people feel. And so like, we are in this reality where like everyone hates the game, but what they're doing is they're expressing a genuine fear that it's going to go. And for me, like when a lot of the Jason Schreier stuff came out, I was very nervous about it. Like, obviously, like, there was the pieces of that about the mistreatment of employees and all that shit, which is fucking disgusting. And like, I'm very glad that Pete Parsons is no longer in charge of this company. But from just like the content perspective, when we were learning about that, I was very concerned because I was like, I look at it from a perspective of being like, my friends, some of my best friends that I spend all my time with and have spent years playing with, gravitate around to this game. And it's hard to get them to play anything else. So like, I had an anxiety around my actual friendships. And I think that's what people are expressing a lot of times when they like fall into these traps about being afraid of what's going to happen with the game when we just don't know anything. It's like, not only is it become a ritual in my life to play Destiny on Tuesdays, but like, and people get very comfortable with that. It's also like, my friends are here. Like, am I going to convince my friends to go to Deadlock or Marathon? I don't know. Like, you don't know. And that uncertainty is like at the heart of what makes people go nuts on things. And so like, but Destiny has been a pretty sure thing for a really long time. Very rare in the industry to have something as sure as this that you're tied to as the player. And I don't necessarily think that like Bungie always deserves the benefit of the doubt. I've been covering this game for a long time. Bungie has made some truly unforced errors that are baffling, and have put them in a bad position and are partially responsible why people don't trust them. But like, trust the history of the game at least and how long it's existed as a franchise, and understand that like, that stuff doesn't just go away super easily. People like making money generally, and like companies like making money. And like Sony spent a lot of money on Bungie, and they can be unhappy that they spent that much money.
Yeah.
But they still have the Destiny IP.
Yeah.
And it still makes them money. So, and again, up until 2024, it was making them a lot of money. So the idea that it just goes away completely is largely laughable.
Yeah,
me,
and
I think people are being.
I think
that
the
was
point.
Long, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good, man. The point that you're making there, though, like about it making money and them buying it, right? So this is a conversation that I've had a lot, and a thought that I've had a lot. You can see it right over my shoulder right here. It's the blurred version of my Marathon Collector's Edition, which I am excited for. I will say I'm tempered expectations just because I don't know yet. Like, I've not had an extraction shooter catch me like that yet, but I've had basically every Bungie game catch me, right? Like since I've been playing, like any Halo game I've played, any Destiny that I've put my hands to, the expansions, I love it. So I'm like, okay, they got me enough where I'm going to give it like the best shot I can. I don't know if I have it enough where I want to cover it, but it has been like a cesspool. Anytime you talk about Marathon on a Destiny account, holy shit, dude. Like, it is the worst thing. It's like you just called someone's mother some terrible, I don't know, you made some terrible inference about their mother. And it's just like, dude, it's just a game. And people be like, well, that killed Destiny. That's why it's in this place. And I'm like, okay, so let's say all of that is real.
Yeah.
Let's say it did. Let's say they literally are like vampires sucking the lifeblood out of Destiny, and that's the only reason that Marathon even exists, even though that's at this, like, maybe early on, like, they're ripping people out that were crucial and they made bad decisions with that. But at this point, a lot of those people who made terrible decisions in that manner are not even at the company anymore. They got their PlayStation payout for, they stuck out their contracts there and they dipped. Or worse things happened and they, got ousted, whatever.
Yeah.
At this point, the point I'm trying to make, and to pull it back to kind of the conversation we were having earlier, the only viable option that I can see is if Marathon fails, those people are not coming back to Destiny.
No, that's a laughable
They're
idea.
losing their jobs.
Correct.
Like, Sony has already been working on thinning the herd, so to speak, and cutting down, which that is probably smart business, right? Like, if you have two HR people who are doing the exact same job and you have like one system in there, I can understand needing to merge things. But over time, it's going to make sense that, hey, are there ways to optimize, do this? I'm not saying I like that people lose jobs, but you're talking about like bringing things into a company. You're not going to have two people or two companies that just fully exist. Nothing's changed, even though they spent billions of dollars on them. Like, you're going to find ways to optimize that. But when we're talking about having different projects that are running, simultaneously, and you're trying to push things through, there is a world where you could have a fruitful and flowing Destiny team and a fruitful and flowing Marathon team, and whatever back end they want to do, whether it's, I've heard recently that there's some art designers or whatever that might be working between the two different games, or just shared assets, right? Like shared people who, okay, we've gotten this done, but we could work on Shattered Cipher or something, and we can help with these next expansions. I could see a plausible reality where that would work for an artist or maybe a sound designer, something of that sort. If you have something, you're finish this project, this is priority. But the reality and the thought that people do is like, well, fuck Marathon. When it comes out, I hope it fails, so then all those people can come back to Destiny. I'm like, dude, that is just not how this is going to work. And so it only behooves Bungie. I think it only behooves Destiny for Marathon to be healthy and for it to work, and honestly to maybe give some people like the PvP side of the game, which I put out a very starkly different interview with DeFizzle last week where we broke down the total state of disrepair that Destiny 2 PvP is in from his perspective as a man who's playing hours and hours and hours on a weekly basis. I pray for those guys that they can get another game that still has the gun feel of Bungie, but then they just don't have to, rely on Destiny 2 PvP for their livelihood, that they could go do this, find some sort of success, and be able to build this alongside of it. So I just wonder what your experience had been with that, because mine has been terrible. Like anytime I talk about Marathon, want to post about it, I'm just like, dude, this is like toxic.
Every time I think I have it bad, I look at Scarrows, and I feel like it's I get it way better. Scarrow gets like Scarrow can say the most mild thing on earth, and someone will run into his.
I saw that on our podcast.
It's crazy.
People came out of the woodwork just to say terrible things on our podcast interview, where we were just talking nostalgia, like things that everyone like holistically loved about the past of Destiny, and finding ways to be shitty about it. Yeah, you're spot on with that.
Scarrow's cool. Like Scarrow's a cool dude. He's a chill guy.
Yes, he is.
I love talking to him on a regular basis, and he's been like a fun person to foster a greater relationship with, and like he doesn't deserve people yet. Like it's crazy, but like it all comes from that anxiety of like, oh well, this thing has killed something else that I like. It's I mean, it's like sibling rivalry. It's like it's the same thing where people are like, well, my life was better before this sibling showed up, and like it's ridiculous. But there is no reality where Marathon tanks and Destiny somehow gets like, well, and when Destiny gets a great future where Bungie is in charge. I find that very, I mean, like, I try to be careful about saying things definitively. I find it hard to believe that Sony will allow, that even if Sony is like, yeah, Destiny 3 is going to happen, that Sony would allow Bungie to take full control of that if Marathon gets totally fucked up. So, I mean, like, the potential futures forward, I think, are like, Marathon does really badly, and Bungie is in trouble.
Yeah.
That's one that I think is crazy that one of the people are voting for, considering this company has created a game that they all pretend to love. And also, a lot of those people are still there. Is the other thing that's like the thing that when people get very up in arms about Marathon, side tangent, is like, do they forget that like you go look at the Vidocs or whatever, and like Steve Cotton, Scott Taylor, Kevin Yanis, all these people, like Lars Bakken, all these people who've been there for a really long time. People who used to feature very heavily on old Destiny Vidocs are on Marathon right now. And you can be mad about that, but is there no entrance into people's brain that like maybe those people that made Destiny really good might also make Marathon really good?
Nope.
Like
that can't be true. Can't be true, Ryan. There's no shot that they ever would consider that.
They need to come back to Destiny. It's like, so you think they did amazing work with Destiny, but they can only do amazing work at Destiny, not Marathon. It's crazy. Yeah. But like, so all these people who are still there, who made this thing that you like, Marathon tanks, and who knows, like things are probably not good. We all get worried, very worried, and would be rightfully so. That's a possibility. Other possibilities, Marathon is a wild success, unbelievable success, to a like Fortnite, Apex Legends degree, and then we never get anything with Destiny anymore because everyone just goes on Marathon and then it's over. I find that unlikely. I don't think that's their goal, to be honest with you. When I was there talking about it in April, they were talking about like an 80-20 fail extraction rate, as in you don't extract 80% of the time. I don't think that's their current metric, and that is certainly not the metric that I have when I play with my friends in the April playtest that I can talk about. But like, the game is meant to be more hardcore, and obviously it's meant to apply to a big group of people because it's a widely marketable game. But like, I don't think they would anticipate like Destiny numbers for this, and if they do, some suit at Bungie or Sony got lied to a lot, which we already know probably happened anyway during the sale, but like someone got lied to even worse, and also has an inability to see things. I don't think it's going to be that level of success.
I've lost faith in Sony's ability to manage things based on how they've handled the Bungie stuff. I tend to agree. That was insane to me, and that's been beaten to death. But I agree with you. One thing, and I want to pick your brain about this. Sure. We'll probably use this as kind of a wrapping up point, but I think that Marathon is potentially better positioned, not necessarily as a genre, but as a game itself, to succeed than Destiny was originally, because They have actual competition that are relevant in the marketplace, that can iterate, can fail, can make moves that maybe they were thinking about doing. Maybe they're playing the proximity chat thing. That's what we always come back to, right? Like, I think Bungie was so strong, like strongly stanced against it because they're like, this is a recipe for disaster. This is, like what's going to happen. The PR, the negative side of, hey, if we have some of the biggest streamers in the world, we got people who are on proxy chat, how are we going to manage this? Arc Raiders has shown that, at least at this point, that has not, I mean, there are cases, right? But that has not been the prevailing narrative around that. That is one instance of a long list of things that I'm sure they're looking at, and I think it will be good for both games, right? I saw someone today on Twitter after the Overwatch announcements. I can say just Overwatch now because they dropped the 2, which I wish Destiny would have done years ago. But
I'm with you.
We just needed like whatever. Anyways, I saw someone post. I don't know who it was, so sorry I can't credit you. Basically making the reference and saying like, hey, Overwatch is running. Or Overwatch is playing this, and they're getting this renewed interest because of how Marvel Rivals has been pushing.
Yep.
And in pushing forward the hero genre, having that now we see what a PvE mode, right, in that kind of game would actually look like. Where I have no idea what Blizzard was actually trying to do with the PvE mode that was going to exist with Overwatch back in the day. But I
played it in 2019. And it was
really
not good.
Okay.
Well, they had a demo at BlizzCon that year, and it was I played.
I gotcha. Okay.
Bad.
So with that, to that point, that you're right. You're seeing we hear that often, and it's like, okay, well, people being worried. Hey, is this the Destiny killer? We had Anthem just go offline here recently. We need a fucking Destiny killer, dude. We need a Destiny killer for Destiny to live. It's the most odd, like, ass backwards thing ever. We need a game that's actually going to put Destiny's feet to the fire and turn it, like, force it out of where it needs to go and into something. And that could be, I'm not trying to suggest that there's not people at Bungie who are passionate about Destiny. I know there are people that are passionate about Destiny. There's people that are passionate about Marathon. There's people that are passionate about both games. But you can only do so much, like you said, moving the needle with the suits to get things going. And sometimes you need, like, external, like, verification on, like, hey, this could actually be helpful for what we're trying to accomplish. I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on that from, like, an industry, like, take a step back.
Yeah. So I have to be a little careful about the one thing I'm going to say here, which is that, like, in times that I have been to Bungie and given feedback on something, the thing that I have gotten basically told almost every time is that the person I'm either telling the feedback to, or that they have either heard that feedback from other people internally, or that the person that I am talking to is like, yeah, I know. Thank you for saying this. In a similar vein, I had a frustration at one point with, like, at work and said something about, like, being frustrated with somebody else that I was working with on a project or something. And my manager was like, thank you for saying that, because now I can take that and use it as actionable feedback, as something, as, like, an actual thing that needs to be, it's not a frustration that I have anymore. It's taken from this other position. And similarly with something like in Destiny, something that I was like, hey, this sucks and should change before this goes live. I have been expressed to that, like, that thought is already in the company. Because, like, something that I try to, like, something that I do at Rogue, that I try to, whenever I interview a developer, I always kind of ask them, like, what's something they wish about game development that people, that wish people knew about game development that they just don't. Because I similarly am interested in getting that, like, more human element to it. And, like, the thing that you will find, that I have found in talking to developers at Marathon, Bungie, at Blizzard, at everywhere that I have covered over the years, is, like, the developers themselves, they give so much of a shit. You have no idea how much of a shit they give. If someone, like, I don't know the exact numbers, but, like, you look at someone like Lars Bakken, who's been at Destiny, who's been at Bungie forever. There is a, like, Microsoft studio within walking distance of Bungie. Okay? If someone with the amount of experience in software that someone like Lars Bakken has took that and went to Microsoft and worked on hospital data spreadsheets, he'd probably make way more money. He is in video games because he cares, because he gives a shit, because he wants to make art that matters to him. Every other developer's in there. The people who ruin the video games that you like, they are the people who care about the money. They're the executives. The developers themselves, they care more about, the people who work on Destiny right now care more about that game. Like, people don't want to hear Tyson Green, the boogeyman of Destiny right now, cares more about Destiny than you or I ever will. Yeah. Genuinely. Because it's not just like this game that he loves playing. It's like art to him. It's like they care about it. So just a general idea, just to keep in the background, people give a shit. To that point, what I was saying earlier. When we're looking at Marathon and we're looking at like the relationship that people have with it, and we're looking at stuff around its success, I lost my place a little bit. Where we were talking about
just the reference.
Yeah.
So I leaned into the competition aspect, right?
Yes.
Like between the two games.
Yes.
Obviously, Marathon being positioned in a good place, having Arc Raiders to counteract and kind of.
Thank you. I got lost. I got too lost in the sauce. I got too lost.
That's all right.
Yelling about.
That's all right.
Other stuff that I get annoyed about. But the
too many things.
You'll when you have a toddler, you'll understand that you're like, I have gone on a journey now and I can't find my way back. I need help. Thank you. So when we talk about like competition specifically, like Bungie does its best work when it's up against the wall. Always has. And one of the biggest problems with Bungie and with Destiny is that there's so much pressure on it to do well because there's nothing else like it. And so everyone gets very uppity and mad because there's nothing else that they can go to. And so they get really upset with Destiny and mad because, like, again, there is no one-to-one to pull your friends to. I had no problem pulling my friends over to Anthem because it was trying to be like Destiny. But pulling them over to something different, like Deadlock, hard. Hard. Because it's a very different game. So people get very upset because like they don't want to let go of this style of game, but there's truly nothing else like it. And so if Destiny had competition, yeah, I agree. And also like there wasn't ever anything like Destiny when it first came out. So to your point about being better positioned, like there was a huge unknown factor to Destiny. Like it sounded cool, but who knew? And it wasn't great when it first launched. It took time for them to really like there were gems there. But it took a lot of time for them to really figure out, like, what does this look like for it to be good? And the merciful thing for them is they were the first people to ever really do something like this. So they had time because those nuggets of gold you couldn't get anywhere else. And somehow, some way, we're still there, which is a crazy fumble from the industry.
Yeah, I would agree.
Itself, like it's a crazy fumble. Where, like, I mean, I in a farewell to Marathon or to Anthem thing that I wrote a couple weeks ago, it was like, you know, the biggest mistake that Anthem had was having EA as a publisher.
Yeah.
Like, if EA would have understood the assignment, they would have given the game the time it needed.
Oh yeah, they didn't have the stomach for it.
Right.
That was crazy, man. I still can't believe how fast. I mean, for the bones that the game had, how fast they turned it off, man. It was insane.
The meat was pretty rotten on Anthem from the beginning, but the bones were good. Like they could have extracted something that was good, and they just didn't. They didn't have the heart for it. It was like, and so Destiny continues 11 years later as getting to just kind of have a more or less free ride for this kind of game. Marathon is, in fact, I agree, launching in a much better position. I don't think it and Arc are that similar. I don't actually like Arc very much.
Sure.
But I also don't like third-person shooters that way, and I don't really like the more military stylings to it. It's part of the reason I'm not that into the Division, despite it being something that I should enjoy more of. I don't find the shooting tight. I don't care about a golden AK-47. It just doesn't do it for me. But, like, they're similar enough that the translation between the players is going to exist.
Yep.
And so Marathon will has already benefited from Arc's success. And theoretically, Arc may benefit from Marathon's success. Like, the point being, though, that, like, players win because they have two things they can bounce between. And ideally, we already see that, like, I know everyone is, like, treats it from a position of being like, oh wow, Marathon really lucked out that Arc didn't put out isn't going to put out its big update in March. And I'm like, is that really the angle that we would take that from? We wouldn't take that from the angle of like, Arc thinks it's probably not a good idea to launch a big season around a new game. Like, even if Arc is going to be more popular ultimately, which I think it will be, you still don't want to launch a 0.5 update or whatever to your game. It's not as exciting as a brand new game. It's just not. So like, if we already seeing Embark do like, okay, well, we're going to stagger stuff away from Marathon, which seems like a good idea, and our Marathon will probably do the same. Players win, and then also, they can borrow ideas off of each other, can and should and will. And a Bungie that constantly has to keep people coming back, has to keep people engaged, is a Bungie that's going to be better than like, Bungie has absolutely had windows and peaks and periods where they're like, we're listening, and they're actually listening, and they're working like making crazy amounts of changes. And like after Red Fate, a lot of they broke the game pretty inexplicably, but they fixed a lot of stuff very quickly.
Yeah,
not enough, I think, but like they did a lot of work. That Bungie that's like backed into a corner, they do some of their best stuff. And Renegades, I think, was a really great reflection of a return of what Destiny can be and still in this era. And it would be great if Destiny had a competitor where instead of having to do the thing where Bungie like makes a great expansion like Witch Queen and then goes, I think we can get away with anything.
Yeah.
And then put out Lightfall, and then the goodwill is killed, and then we have to build it back up with Final Shape again. Like, if they don't have to do that because they don't get too big for their britches, which they historically do, like, that's a much better scenario. Halo had competition.
Yep.
And Bungie, now, like, we're talking studios that are, we're talking 20 years ago. So, like, things changed, like, wildly different environment and everything like that. But still, like, Halo had competition the whole way. Halo succeeded by being the first FPS game to really make a big splash on console. And similarly, Destiny was kind of supposed to be the first like MMO to make it big on console. But like that's kind of, Bungie's moved away from that own ideology. It has become its own thing at this point. So it just doesn't have it's not competing against Final Fantasy 14. Like that's not, when Final Fantasy 14 came to Xbox, no one was like, ooh, competition for Destiny. Like we don't exist in that world. So, but Marathon has Tarkov, Marathon has Arc, Marathon has probably other games that are going to be coming out in the next, 12 months for it to weather against. And like, I truly believe like Bungie makes the best shooter content out there. Like the shooting in these games is just exceptional. And so they have that going for them, but they also are going to need the content to back it up. And I fully agree that like, long-winded answer to, and then also getting lost halfway along the way to say, I fully agree with you. I think it is good for Marathon, and like the reality that I think we're going to settle into, and that I hope we settle into, is one where Marathon does pretty good, can hold its own, but not good enough that it doesn't make sense to not continue development of Destiny. I would like to see both. I had absolutely no intention of I wanted to enjoy it when I got sent out to Bungie in April of last year to check out Marathon. But I was like, I think my life with multiplayer, like competitive multiplayer games over, maybe. I'm more of like a PvE person. And I remember talking to like some developers at like the dinner beforehand talking about being like, oh, the stuff in Tarkov where you like build your own base seems appealing to me. And I remember them looking at each other, and I got the impression that they're like, I don't think this motherfucker's gonna like this game. And then the next day we went in, we got the whole presentation, and we ended up, after me and Travis from IGN got placed with a journal student speaking English from a different country, which was tough for the first part of the morning. And like, that was, tough for both parties, because he couldn't talk to us, we couldn't talk to him. And that's a tough game to play without any kind of communication. And we weren't having we were having like some fun with it. We couldn't fight at all. And then we came back from lunch, and they were like, we've moved him to somebody who can speak with him and show him the game. And we've given you Kevin Giannis on your team. And I was able to just like sit and ask questions and learn about the game. And then I was able to do that for my friends when I got home. And having like having that moment where you can sit down and really understand how the game click to you in that way, I suddenly was like, oh no, this is going to like consume large portions of my life when it comes out. And I had no intention of it being something that I was interested in at all. So like I don't know how people are going to, not everyone's going to have Kevin Yanas, and then not
Sure.
everyone's going to have someone who is trained by Kevin Yanas to teach them. But like, so that's kind of where some of my concerns lie in terms of I'm curious how people will deal with those initial opening hours of frustration. But I truly believe that like people who care about who like Destiny like Destiny and like Bungie shooting and everything like that, if they get past that window, I think they will see the vision
Yeah.
that like Jake and Scarrow and I have been seeing for all this time, which is partially why we started the show together, is because we feel like we've been the marathon hopefuls for the past year, and I think people are starting to see it, and I'll be curious to hear what you have to say after the opening weekend whenever they do
Yeah.
that.
I've not been hands on with it, which has been, I
Not
mean,
at
it's
all,
been,
not ever.
nope, much
Oh
to my
man,
dismay, man. I've not been able to get hands on with it. So I really want to. I want to do that. My brand of, content I make, it's very, very guide heavy, very new player friendly, things of that sort. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of that. To be honest, I'm not consumed a lot of like, and I keep making the analog because it's the closest example I have of a game in this same type that has recently released, right? But I know a lot of people found success in Arc Raiders as far as like, here's upgrade paths, things of these sort or this sort and stuff. I'm not sure. I don't know if I have a stomach to launch another channel right now and do that kind of work for free on that front, if that makes sense. Like that, those things coming in, this right here, like I've mentioned that to people on the podcast, like when I'm streaming and stuff, like, hey, I would love if you guys want to support the channel, but you don't have no bucks to give, like you don't have any dollars to donate. That's perfectly fine. Could you go subscribe over here to this channel so that these podcasts I love to make, maybe we can get a little bit out of that and stuff.
yeah.
But I don't know if I have that. It's going to be interesting to see how it catches me. And at a certain point,
Be
you
curious,
kind of
yeah.
have to just decide and buckle down. I did a little bit of that with the Destiny Rising piece, right? Like I Destiny 2 was in a lesser spot, and then Destiny Rising, it caught me, man. The bug caught me, and I really enjoyed it. And I still like playing Destiny Rising when I get a chance to.
Yeah.
But man, it's been so disappointing
I
to
go
kind
into
of
and starts
see where that's
myself.
come from. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see that weekend, that opening, that free weekend.
Yep.
Is going to be like the kingmaker for me. Like all of the other discourse and stuff around it, like doesn't matter. It's like for people who are excited about the game, like myself, that's the weekend to watch, truly. Because I think the game brings on something new when you're playing it versus when you're just like watching a streamer get mad about it, like in
Yeah.
April or something like that. Like it's going to be a really, really interesting couple of like weekend or whatever. But I hope it will go well because I genuinely really like the game when I played it back in April and definitely no other times. That I want it to succeed because I'm excited for something new to play with my friends, and like I'm looking forward to it. And like
Yeah.
I think it will be. I hope, like, obviously, I hope it'll do well because I have a podcast about it now at this point, also. But like,
Sure.
I also that I enjoy doing a lot. But part of the reason I enjoy doing that, and the same reason that you enjoy like this, or doing anything that you do with Destiny, is like because you like the game.
Yeah.
Like I same reason I've covered Destiny the whole time. And the same reason I would push, even as Destiny numbers would go down at Polygon, I would push to continue trying new things with Destiny because I liked covering it. I liked playing it. I like being part of the community, frustrate me as they do. I like both of these games, and I don't know. I hope that a year from now, everything we have like a better, more clarity about.
Yeah.
We'll have more clarity for sure, but I hope that we have like a better glimpse into the future a little bit, and I hope that like you know I'm still playing Destiny 3 with the same friends that I've been playing with for Marathon or whatever. all that time from now.
Yeah,
In many years when that eventually comes out.
for sure. I just hope they put a bow on Destiny 2 when that time comes. Like, I hope they
They
do
will.
kind of like
They
they
have
did with
to.
Destiny 1. I hope
They
they
have
do
to.
an Age of Triumph piece. And I'm not disillusioned to assume that they'd be able to bring back everything, but I do hope that they at least find a way to make the best content that they have recreated in this engine. Like they create an avenue for us to play those games and
The
or
raids, at
those
least.
modes and experience.
The raids, at least, are the thing where I'm like, I hope they bring that.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I mean,
bring those back at least,
yeah,
please.
I've said this a bunch of times. You were talking earlier about how much you love Leviathan. My favorite raid of all time is Crown of Sorrow, and
Hell yeah.
it's weird. It's weird because the first encounter was slow. However, I think that a lot of that opinion comes from the top teams, right? Like the people who were really, really, really good, and it's like, okay, well, this is a slog to get past it.
On the farm, it was
However,
miserable, yeah. But
yeah. So, but you do that and say like, okay, well, first encounter is slow. But when I was playing, like the team I was playing with, I was not very good at Destiny at that time. Very mid player at that time. It was a challenge. It was a challenge to make sure you knew, okay, these things are spawning at this point. And it was kind of to the point where you were saying like the gauntlet encounter or like these different encounters, like the Crota totem encounter. There's the flow aspect to it. That's why I love Crown of Sorrow so much, is because even like the second and third encounters of that raid are so flow based. Like we would get teams together, and if you knew like your pair that you were running with, especially for final encounter, dude, you could run through the different 3 portions of the arena, and you didn't even have to talk to each other. You knew where these players were, you knew where your guy was, you knew when you were going, get up there, break your crystal, swap, and you could just flow state it, dude. And I loved that so much, and I would love to do it again.
You might be in luck. There's the rumors that Galron is coming back for Pantheon this year.
God, I would love that so much. It was my first low man too, like doing a 3-man for Galron, and nice. I was not good enough to do that. We pulled off a miracle basically to be able to pull that off, and so I'd love to get time back in there. So, but man, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. We had a bunch of stuff on here.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's great. There's a bunch of stuff on here. I do want to take some minutes here.
Yeah.
Just here at the tail end. I want to plug, because I said at the beginning, and I have full intention on us talking a little more about Rogue. So I always try to sign off and say like, what should we call out? We talked about the Marathon podcast. I've told people on stream that I love your guys' podcast.
Oh, thank you.
As well, and I'm listening to every episode. Can you tell us a little bit about Rogue? What you guys are doing, kind of as a put a bow on this podcast.
Yeah. Well, unconventional plug first of something that I would have loved to talk about given unlimited time, but I talked too much and too long. If you are somebody who thinks that like preview, like if there was a whole bunch of conversation around like Highguard coming out about like that press and being like chills for things like that and like preview events and stuff like that. If you think that is the case, I've been to many preview events. We used to pay for our own travel at Polygon, and then we things like everyone's travel budgets got slashed, so we started accepting travel. If you are somebody who thinks that a stay at a mildly okay Marriott is going to destroy someone's like ethical ability to cover a game, I could talk to you about it for forever about why previews come out typically more positive. It's because they intentionally show you the best part of the game, and
Sure.
you can't go, you have to couch it a little bit, but you can't, if you see a good part of the thing, you have to be honest about it and be like, what I saw was good. And you could be like, the rest might not be good, but that doesn't quite, even if that's in the preview, that's not the thing people focus on, is the part where you go, it could be bad. They focus on, he said it was going to be good. Anyway, don't listen to me. Go watch Mactix. Mactix put out a video about what it's actually like to go to a preview at Bungie. It is slightly different for press in that like, the press and games development has a little bit less of a chummy relationship. Bungie is actually quite good about like letting their people just like talk to press without feeling like we're sharks, which is nice. I appreciate. We can have like candid conversations, and they're not like afraid of me, which is nice. But go watch that video from Mactix if you have that perspective, and like it's very, very good. I endorse it like almost entirely. Very high quality. Check out that video from Actix. Anyway, right, talking about my thing. Rogue is, I started it with 3 other Polygon people, so Alice Jovenet, Cass Marshall, and my guides buddy, who I also started that blog with over the summer, called Jeff Parkin. called Jeff Perkin, like I'm British. That's what British people say. Which I love. But then also we had some like we did start then like Tucson Egan and Clayton Ashley and Pat Gill also have like a podcast for the anime Pat's Labor. So we all kind of like, the four of us though were the main owners of the site, and we kind of got together and built this thing. And we kind of started as a more like conventional site, but I think really we've angled in on like recommendations and trying to find like the gems out there for people. Which is one of my favorite parts about working at Polygon, was like having a bunch of people with a bunch of different like eclectic tastes that can come together and say like, oh, you should check out this game, Case of the Golden Idol, which is a game that I probably never would have played otherwise. And I loved that game when it came out.
Yeah.
And like Rise of the Golden Idol was great as well. Like stuff like Oberdin puzzle games that I never would have played otherwise. Like it's the thing that I loved. So one of the things I loved the most about Polygon, and I miss. So we have kind of moved into that area of being like, there's a billion things on Steam all the time. Like let's try to find the type of stuff that's out there and be like, is this stuff good? Is it high quality? Like what's, I was on a kick with a game called The Bazaar last year that I wrote a lot about on Rogue and introduced people to. That's kind of what we spend a lot of our time doing these days, and we're going to continually move further into that as well. So like, I went out and took my time out of my day to check out Highguard, and then I rechecked Highguard for when it came out with the 5v5 version. And so we have stuff on there for like a game that my coworker Cass started playing called Space Warlord Baby Trader, which is like a day trading game where you like purchase a space baby, and then like as things happen to them in their life, your investment goes up and down. It's crazy. But like I learned about fun stuff like that from editing my coworkers' pieces. So that's kind of more or less what we're doing a lot of right now, is writing about stuff like that, and Cairn, and like the Cult of the Lamb expansion that I checked out recently, and game like blacksmithing game called Blade Song, and TR-49. It's like a Scantron machine. All sorts of stuff like that. We're kind of like trying to make navigating your time spent in an industry that is just like has more and more and more stuff all the time. Trying to get to a place where we can make it a better experience in terms of like knowing what may or may not be worth your time. So
sure. Yeah,
that's a lot of what we do these days, is more on the recommends side of stuff. So we're also like primarily not on Twitter. We're mostly on Blue Sky for our social media stuff. So you can find us there, or just go to Rogue.site anytime you want. We are also like, we don't have ads. We don't do ads at all. We're completely and totally reader funded, which is cool. And we have some pieces that are behind a paywall, but even just starting like opening like a free account, just like will get you access to a lot of additional stuff as well. So
nice.
We got some stuff cooking up here as well. So yeah, it's a good time. It's like we enjoy doing it, and it's done pretty good so far. That's great. Our numbers are looking pretty good. So yeah, no, I appreciate being able to plug, Rogue.site. Check it out.
That's awesome. Yeah, guys. So make sure that you support however you can. I think it's important to be able to support those that are finding their way and just honestly just trying to navigate, like we said early on, this hellscape that is LLMs and just using ChatGPT as a search engine with information that you have no idea when it came out of. I think it's nice to get those things. I think I know about those games that you just referenced from, like gaming podcasts or things like that. People, like you said, you put it perfectly, like eclectic tastes that are very different than mine, and that's the only reason I would have played it. And so if you guys are interested in that, make sure you go over Rogue.site and you can support over there. Thank you guys very much for listening today. Ryan, thank you for joining us. Until next time, be blessed, y'all.